the meeting. Good evening, everyone. Please join us in the pledge. Okay, we're going to move to item number 2 is correspondence. We don't have any tonight. Item number 3 is public comment session for items that are on tonight's agenda. I have no one signed up. Moving to item number 4 is presentations and guests. We have 2 items tonight, and the first one is going to be the budget overview presentation 2024 to 2025 by Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Human Resources, Mr. Robert Whitaker.
I believe you all received a large packet since the last meeting, and I just wanted to go over a couple things of the changes that took place in the budget that we presented on March 14th. We're going to look at the three-part budget first. In the section that's out bordered in the dark green, you can see the 3/14 date, which had a grand total of $37,291,019. After that meeting, a couple things came to light. The new dollar value would be $37,273,719. That represents a decrease in $17,300 from the budget that was presented on the 14th. Two real reasons for that. About 2 days after the last meeting, I had a notice for what our workers' comp rates are going to be for next year. And we're seeing pretty significant change in workers' comp. It may not sound like, but it was about $16,000 in change from year to year. But it has been going down a little bit, but we got that notification. And the other one is, quite honestly, I made a slight miscalculation in the health insurance part of the, I think it was on the administrative side. I had one too many health insurances in there. So the new dollar value, which is up for adoption tonight, is $37,273,719, which now represents an overall total increase of 2.13% to the budget. If you take a look at your revenue slide, again, in the dark green border, the change from 314 to 325, we see that we have that $17,300 decrease. And I would propose to save that money, we would just lower the tax levy from 1.49% to 1.41%. So once again, what we talked about and presented was that our tax cap is 3.08%. To balance the proposed budget for revenue, the portion of taxes would go down by about 0.8%. There is on the agenda later tonight the adoption of the budget if you see fit to do so. And I'd like to ask if there's any questions related to the adoption of the budget. Ready?
George, you need a minute? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Might as well just stand here.
Okay. So we're moving to item number 4B is the contingency budget overview presentation 2024 to 2025 by Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Human Resources.
Okay, so every year, business officials across the state develop a contingency budget prior to even the adoption of their budget. A contingency budget would come into play in case the original budget is voted down. If that happens, the board has a couple of options. They could go straight to a contingency budget and adopt this budget, or they could have a second election, a budget vote, excuse me, and propose the same amount, propose more, propose less. But if that second budget gets voted down, you have to go immediately to a contingency budget. The gray areas that are stated in New York State education law related to contingency budget are quite varied as to what is a contingent expense. It says basically all expenses that are needed to normally run a day of school are non-contingent budget items. In conversations with a variety of people, you can look at many different things. We look at equipment as our main source of the main deducts, which is in the red area there. So whatever equipment that we feel is not something that would be mandatory to operate in school, we would consider those contingent expenses. And under a contingent budget, we would not purchase those equipment items for the year. That deduction comes to about $331,000. So a contingent budget increase, our proposed budget increase is $776,000. A contingency budget would be 445, which would still represent a 1.22% increase in the budget. Again, under a contingent budget, you would drop the tax levy by that amount. And I believe tonight there's an adoption of the contingency budget, which is this particular document here. Questions?
God forbid we do have a turn it down. My question would be, would we lose any non-mandated subjects like music or some sports?
Some places would tell you in a contingent budget that everything's up for grabs, not so much an elective course. The field of interscholastic athletics, you will see quite a few different opinions on that. Most people do not touch that. That would, if they had to touch that, that would be far down the list of things they would even consider touching. So showing your contingent budget, which was normally about the same amount of difference, is you have to trust it and know that you've been on the same plane all these years with the taxpayers. I mean, that's the choice we have here. And I tell you, that was my determination, is to take out any unnecessary equipment to run the school. If during the course of a contingent budget an emergency arises, and let's just say whatever it might be, it could be a piece of equipment, you are allowed to amend your budget to purchase a piece of equipment under emergency condition. That would have to come before the Board of Education.
Some years the state does not come forth in a timely manner. One year was in September. So we're good until then in every way?
So making provisions for what might happen. This is a little unique of a school year, but once again, I say not for Tri-Valley because we're very stable. Some of our neighboring school districts have some pretty big cuts to their school budget. State aid. And, they're sitting there waiting to adopt the budget, waiting to hold the budget, waiting to do whatever. So and if it's not going to be adopted by the time you have to adopt the budget, their main thing is, how do you save $2 million? You cut jobs. I feel we're pretty safe. I would never say we're 100% safe, because we didn't get that large deduct or large increase. What we've done here, not just me, but the entire school district over the past years, using our reserves properly, also not exceeding the tax cap in all the years here, those are some of the items the state looked at on what some of the schools that they cut. So I'm pretty comfortable putting this budget, this contingent budget, and that tax levy there. If something were to happen with the state aid, as far as revenue, the district has money in some of its reserves that are touchable, that you could always bring back to the general fund. They're not completely restricted funds. The state controller's office, I'll tell you, the insurance reserve, workers' comp, um, unemployment, those dollars there have the ability to be brought back into the budget as part of a revenue. So I'm pretty sure that's why I feel we're relatively safe.
Case scenario, then you feel that we would not have to cut any programs?
No, I think that's a program cut is the last thing because, hopefully you don't have to cut a teacher or do anything. But the programs that we've talked about during the budget season, the normal programming, the electives, whatever, those are educational days. Those are the most critical part. You got do whatever you got to do to maintain them. But I do know some other school districts have talked about cutting some athletics and cutting some things with those large numbers there. And that's the last thing any school district wants to do is touch their program.
Did you do any self-calculations in regards to the actual assessed value that they would have or equalization? Because we do have 6 towns in our district, and every one of them has a different equalization rate. So could you give us a high and low of what it would go from town to town?
Not currently, because I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. The equalization rate for the tax season usually happens by July 31st when they set those equalization rates. If I went in right now, there would be a tentative rate, which sometimes is pretty consistent. I saw maybe 3 or 4 years ago where the original equalization rate really drove all over the place when the finals came out. So I couldn't give you the exact dollars and cents to it there. And as with everything, raising taxes 1.4% has nothing to do with the tax bill. It has to do with the total dollars that we're asking to levy to all our taxpayers. When you bring in equalization rates, the number of parcels in here and everything else that goes in, it's, I say this, it's the most inequitable way because it doesn't seem that way. Some people might actually see a decrease in their tax bill, while others will see a 7% increase. And that's based on the assessed values and everything else, which is totally out of our hands. Those are done by each township and the county.
Yes, some residents have asked me, different towns have asked me that already, and I couldn't answer
Yeah, and it's if you look at the spreadsheet, the formulas
Yeah,
are A
it-
plus B equals C. It's like,
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 5 is the superintendent's report by Ms. Erin Long.
Thank you. Good evening. George, I'm going to keep going with what Bob was saying. This morning I was at our Sullivan County Superintendent's meeting, and we're anxiously awaiting to hear word on our state budget. It does look like the budget's not going to be approved till at least the 3rd or 4th week in April. But as Bob said, we are financially in great shape compared to some of our colleagues in the county. And whether or not foundation aid is cut or restored, we don't know yet. We know the governor's pretty hunkered down, and it looks like schools and healthcare are after the same pool of money. So we're watching that very closely. But again, we are in very good shape, and that's a result of Bob and all the conscientious budgeting that we've been doing. So whether or not it's restored or the safe harmless aid is restored, we are confident going forward with our budget versus some of our districts that are holding out until that budget is passed, and it's going to be pretty tight for them. I also wanted to update everyone on the information I gave about the lawnmower purchase last weekend. And so just a little background, one of our mowers currently is a 2012, and the water pump has gone on it, as well as the mechanisms that are moving the mowing deck up and down. And so Jesse has contacted Marshall Machinery in Middletown, and then also a company in Albany, and got a couple of quotes. And so Marshall Machinery is willing to give us $20,000 for the current mower, which would cost us just about $25,000 to buy a new mower. It's a 6-foot mowing deck, and just felt that that was a really good move for us to do. So I just wanted you to be updated on that. And then I know there were some questions around some artificial intelligence cameras being putting on the Rolling V buses. What I've understood is that this isn't about the bus cameras that we use. This is about cameras that are being installed from the company that bought Rolling V, and that is to monitor drivers' speed and making sure they're not on their cell phones while they're driving. It's an additional safety item that's going into the buses. And then finally, I just really want to commend our kids and our staff this week. We had 2 National Honor Society inductions. We had an amazing 8th grade poetry slam last night. And again, I just can't say enough about our students and our staff for their dedication to everyone. And finally, I want to wish everyone a happy and healthy spring break.
Thank you. Moving to item number 6 is items the board wants pulled from tonight's agenda. Anybody? Okay, moving to item number 7 is the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the entire consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion by Rose,
Second.
second by Tammy. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
Is personnel on that, the one specifically one? No.
No.
Okay, 6 yes, 1 no.
Okay, 6 yes, 1 no. Be it resolved upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools, the board approves the entire consent agenda categories 7 through 12. Moving to item number 13 is board committee reports. We don't have anything tonight for that. Item 14 is old business. We have no old business tonight. Item number 15 is public comment session for the items that are not on tonight's agenda. We have no one signed up. So we move to item number 16 is announcements, reminders, and upcoming events. Anybody? Okay. Item 17 is new business. We have 2 items. The first one is item A, is the adoption of budget for 2024 to 2025. It is an action, and I have a motion to accept the adoption of budget for 2024 to 2025.
So move.
Motion by George,
Second.
second by Tammy. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
It is unanimous. Thank you. Be it resolved on the recommendation from the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education at its March 28th, 2024 meeting adopts the proposed budget in the amount of $37,273,719 for the 2024 to 2025 school year. Moving to item number 17B is the adoption of the contingency budget for 2024-2025. It is in action, and I have a motion for the adoption of the contingency budget 2024 to 25.
Motion.
Motion by Tammy,
Second.
second by Tim. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
Aye.
Unanimous.
That is unanimous. Thank you. Be resolved upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools, the board reviewed and adopts the contingency budget for 2024 to 2025. Moving to item number 17C is the Daniel Pierce Library Resolution 2024. And I have a motion to accept the Daniel Pierce Library Resolution 2024.
So move.
Motion by George. Second by Pat. Any discussion?
I just have a question. Is this, I'm reading correctly that we are going to be at this meeting or their board? So it talks about a meeting on June 18th and mentions the board members of the district being at it.
Norma, can we ask you a question about this?
Sure.
So it says on there that whereas that upon the request of the Board of Trustees, the Board of Education and the Board of Education will hold a special meeting of that school district, of the school district on Tuesday, June 18th.
Yes, the library vote is a special meeting of our district. The difference between the school vote and the library vote is that at the school vote, we elect our board members. The library has their board of trustees. That's their board. They decided they wanted to have a separate vote. So what you guys are voting on tonight is to agree or deny that the Daniel Pierce Library can have their own budget vote on June 18th. Does that answer it?
So,
But
But
the
does that-
resolution comes from our board.
But our board does not need to attend that.
the
You can
election
attend.
is run via under the board of the school district's auspices. So correct me if I'm wrong, Norma, but we do the voter reg and everything. You got to remember, we're the ones that also levy the taxes. Okay, so that's why there's that marriage there. So it's more like we're holding the meeting, but you're not holding a meeting. You're condoning that you're approving the holding of the vote. Correct, Norm?
Yep,
Thank you.
okay.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay, please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
That is unanimous. Do we have a second? Pat?
I
Okay.
had George made the motion and Pat made the second, and then we had discussion, and then
Okay.
we voted, and it was unanimous.
All right, because I have to read that one. So, okay. That is unanimous. Thank you. Be it resolved on the recommendation from the superintendent of schools that the board reviews and approves the following resolution. At a regular meeting of the Tri-Valley Central School District, the district Board of Education on March 28th, 2024, upon a motion made by George Dean and seconded by Board Member Patrick Kelly, the following resolution was adopted. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Daniel Pierce Library has approved an annual appropriation of $458,438, parentheses, which sum consists of $442,779 previously authorized, a carryover of $6,803 from the prior fiscal year, plus an additional $8,855.58 over the 2023 to 2024 appropriation, close parentheses, the annual appropriation, close parentheses, and whereas that upon the request of the Board of Trustees of the Daniel Pierce Library, Board of Education of the district will hold a special meeting of the school district on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, at the Daniel Pierce Library, 328 Main Street, Grahamsville, Sullivan County, New York, 12740, between the hours of 1 p.m. and 8 p.m. Daylight Savings Time, for the purpose of voting upon the annual appropriation from the district to the library, parentheses, the special meeting, close parentheses. And now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that in accordance with Section 2007.1 of the New York Education Law, the Board of Education of the Tri-Valley Central School District, Sullivan County, New York, hereby authorizes and directs the district clerk to give notice to the qualified voters of the district of the special meeting, charge the Daniel Pierce Library for the costs associated with holding the special meeting. And it is further resolved that the district clerk shall cause the notice of the special meeting, parentheses, attached to hereto as Exhibit A, close parentheses, to be published once each week for 4 weeks within the 7 weeks preceding the special meeting in 2 newspapers having general circulation. The first such notice to be published at least 45 days prior to the special meeting. And it is further resolved that the district clerk is hereby authorized to amend the notice of the special meeting from time to time, as in her discretion such amendment may be required. And it is further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately, dated March 28th, 2024, Norma Pena, District Clerk. Okay, moving to item number 17D is the Daniel Pierce Library Legal Notice 2024. Do I have a motion to accept the Daniel Pierce Library Legal Notice 2024? Motion by Pat. Second by Rose. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you. Be it resolved, upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools, the board reviewed and approves the Daniel Pierce Library Legal Notice 2024. Moving to item number 17E is voter registration date for Daniel Pierce Library Vote 2024 is an action. And I have a motion to accept the voter registration date for the Daniel Pierce Library Vote 2024. Motion by Brett. Second by Rose. Any discussion?
Just a question. Who takes care of that? Library or just Tri-Valley?
So Norma will help set up all of that with the election workers. Norma will do all the ballots, all the mailing. So we take care of it and we help them set it up and we count the votes.
And you count the vote at the library?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
That is unanimous, thank you. Be it resolved, upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools, the board approves the following date for voter registration for the Daniel Pierce Library Vote 2024. A, Wednesday, June 12th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., Tri-Valley Central School District Administration Building by Ayatoro Sports Complex Track, 34 Moore Hill Road, Grahamsville, New York, 12740. Okay, moving to item number 17F is the appointment of a student observer 2023 to 2024. It is an action. Can I have a motion to accept the appointment of the student observer 2023 to 24?
Motion.
Motion by Rose. Second. Second by Pat. Any discussion? Please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Unanimous, thank you. Be it resolved, upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools, the board appoints Elizabeth Tehan to the position of student observer for 2023 to 2024, pending fingerprint clearance. Ms. Tehan will observe students in Mrs. Kerry Smith's classroom for 10 hours, 2 hours per week, over 5 weeks to satisfy her college requirements. Start date is to be determined. Moving to item number 17 is the appointment of the athletic trainer hourly. I have a motion to accept the appointment of the athletic trainer hourly. Motion by Tim,
Second.
second by Rose. Any discussion?
When is she going to be performing her duties?
So we're working on a schedule for Tiffany right now. We're going to start by having her come in and take a look at the equipment we have and organize it to make sure we have the proper emergency bags at games. We're going to start at the varsity level. We'll be hosting 2 track invitationals, one varsity, one modified. She'll be there with us for the day for that. And so we're going to start there and then move forward as we see.
Okay. How many hours do we anticipate her performing her duties within a pay period?
I would say, depending on the softball, baseball, track schedule, we could see anywhere from probably 5 to 12 hours per week right now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Is she solely ours?
She
employee?
is. So Tiffany is a community member and approached us a couple of months ago, and we've just really enjoyed getting to know her. So she's solely ours at Tri-Valley, which is really hard to find, and she'll be available for us whenever we need her,
So we have her tied up for 2 years.
at least.
No, I'm saying in this.
Oh, in this, yes.
This
yes.
agreement.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay, please proceed to vote.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
That is unanimous, thank you. Be it resolved upon the recommendation from the superintendent of schools that the Board of Education at its March 28th, 2024 meeting approves the appointment of Tiffany Stapleton as an athletic trainer, parentheses, per hour. Per hour rate will be $48 per hour, effective April 9th, 2024, pending fingerprint clearance. Tiffany Stapleton holds a New York State athletic trainer license number 002726 through June 30th, 2026. So item number 18 is board comment session. Brett, anything? George?
If I may, what brand is the lawnmower?
It starts with, it's not a Kubota. It starts with a K.
Kubota?
Nope, not a Kubota. Maybe a Coyote. That sounds familiar.
What is it?
Mhm.
Okay.
The other orange. It's the other orange tractor.
Has any county businessman asked for a bid? I have no idea what a Ventrac is.
We didn't get a county bid for that.
So we haven't even asked anybody, or they don't have any in the county?
We have not approached the county about
And do we
that.
have an experience with that type of
Yes.
apparatus?
Yep.
Okay. Um, In reference to the MOA tonight from the teachers, I think that's great that they would do that. I remember back years ago in the 90s, early 90s, the whole state had trouble with finding money, and the state didn't come down with any as much as they should.
Mhm.
And we sat upstairs in the upper library, and we were wondering what we were going to do. And the teachers' union got up and said, "We will forgive our raises, but don't forget about us." And we did not have to do away with any program or any extracurricular. And we were the only one in the county that I know of that didn't have to do that. So we're very fortunate. So I applaud the union for doing that.
We do too.
I see a little bit of information in reference to the town ball field that we're down there working. Maybe just keep track of the hours and stuff. But I think that's a good thing. They do have the bleachers up now. It's been there since they opened it in 2000 and whenever they had their grand opening. What it would cost us to put another ball field in, we don't even want to explore. So the town's been very good to us, and I think that's a good relationship, and we should try to keep that. And I applaud them on both sides to do that. Don't forget the April 11th BOCES dinner. I think you can still sign up for that if anybody wants to go to it. We do have a good time there. We get to meet other board members from other districts and stuff, and I've always had a good time. So I think you would too.
They said today the food is going to be delicious, and then we start our evening in the shop, so we get to see hands-on some of the work that our students are doing. So should be a great evening.
Thank you.
Tammy, anything?
I would just like to congratulate all the National Honor Society and the National Junior Honor Society inductees. Their efforts are noted by the community, the board. It's just an amazing accomplishment that we have so many students that participate in these chapters. I'd like to thank Mr. Haynes for his work in organizing and preparing the 8th grade students for the Poetry Slam. It was absolutely phenomenal. The students really, really outdid themselves, and it was just a phenomenal presentation by all the students. And the support that the entire 8th grade gave to their colleagues as they were going up on stage was just remarkable. It really was a good night. And I hope everyone has a safe and happy spring break.
Tammy? Rose? Okay, moving to item number 19 is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Pat, second by Rose. Please proceed to vote.
Aye.
Unanimous.
It's unanimous. Thank you. It is 7:40 p.m. Good holiday to everyone.